Heartwarming revelation. Millionaire discovers incredible strength in employee's daughter after. Jake Thompson stood outside the Maplewood diner, eyeing the familiar sign above the door. It had been years since he'd walked these streets, yet the nostalgia washed over him like a warm blanket. The quaint Main Street, with its smiling faces and local shops, was a stark contrast to the cold glass towers of Chicago, where he had forged his empire. Yet, despite his millions, a gnawing emptiness clung to him. He missed the simpler times, the community, and the friendships that filled his childhood. As he opened the door, the bell chimed, sending waves of recognition through the small diner. A gentle hum of cheerful chatter filled the air, accompanied by the scent of freshly brewed coffee and warm pastries. And there, surrounded by the clatter of plates and laughter, was Sarah Johnson, his childhood friend. Time had carved a few lines on her face, but her kindness shone through. She was serving up breakfast with a smile, despite the exhaustion in her eyes. "Jake, you're back," Sarah exclaimed, her surprise palpable. Their embrace was warm and tight, filled with years of unspoken understanding. "I can't believe it." In that moment, Jake caught sight of Lily, Sarah's 13-year-old daughter. Perched at the corner booth, she was animatedly sketching something on a napkin, her brows furrowed in concentration. A gifted artist, Lily was a bright light in Sarah's life, but she often struggled with her health, enduring medical bills that piled higher with each doctor's visit. Jake felt an ache in his chest at the thought of Sarah working double shifts just to keep afloat. In the days that followed, Jake learned about the looming closure of the community center, a pillar of support for families like Sarah's. Heart pounding with purpose, he decided to throw a grand charity fundraiser to save it. The thought sparked a flicker of hope within him, a chance to reconnect, to give back. As the night of the fundraiser arrived, Jake transformed the community center into a dazzling spectacle. Twinkling lights, gourmet food, and laughter danced in the air. Yet as the event unfolded, whispers of discontent slithered through the crowd. The town was divided, some feeling forsaken by the wealth that went unshared. Jake looked around, discomfort settling in his stomach. The very people he wanted to uplift seemed distant, alien. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. With tension thick in the air, Lily quietly approached him. Her voice was soft but steady. "Mr. Thompson, we need to rethink this. What if we asked everyone in town to share what they're good at? A talent show, a potluck, something that brings everyone together." Her eyes sparkled with determination, igniting a flicker of inspiration in him. In that moment, he realized the true strength of community lay not in grandeur but in connection. But as he pondered her idea, a betrayal from within the crowd threatened to engulf their plans. Doubts swirled in his mind. Could he really be the bridge between his world and theirs? As the sun dipped below the horizon, casting an orange hue over the diner, Jake faced an urgent question. Would he return to his comfortable life, or would he rise for Maplewood, fighting for the bonds that shaped him? The chatter of the crowd buzzed like a swarm of bees as Jake took a moment to breathe. He glanced at Lily, her sincere enthusiasm rekindling the fire within him. Her idea could be the catalyst that brought the community together, and for the first time that evening, hope seeped into his heart. "All right, let us do it," Jake announced, raising his voice above the murmurs. "We'll host a talent show and potluck. Everyone is invited, and we will make it a celebration of what makes Maplewood special." The whispers turned into a low roar of curiosity and excitement. He felt the atmosphere shift, a current of energy sparking among the attendees. Sarah's smile widened, relief washing over her. Jake vowed to himself that this time, he wouldn't let his own insecurities overshadow the light that radiated from the town he had almost forgotten. Over the next 2 weeks, he threw himself into the preparations. He visited local businesses, chatting with families and gathering talent. It felt good to be back in touch. Each conversation, each laugh was a reminder of the community spirit he had craved all along. Meanwhile, Jake witnessed Lily during art class, her passion evident as she painted a mural on the wall, blending colors skillfully. She had a way of bringing out the vibrancy in everything. Maybe you should paint a backdrop for the show, he suggested one afternoon, while leaning against the doorframe. The room was alive with laughter and creativity, the warmth contagious. Really? Do you think people would like it? Lily's eyes shimmered. Absolutely. Your art can inspire others to get up on stage too, he replied, and she beamed, already sketching a concept in her mind. But just as everything seemed to come together, Jake learned that not all were on board. A group of older residents voiced their concerns on the town's social media page. What does the outsider know about Maplewood? They questioned. We don't need his charity. Jake felt that familiar knot in his stomach. What if they were right? What if he couldn't bridge the gap? Determined not to let negativity overshadow their efforts, Jake reached out personally to those who had shared their discontent, inviting them to contribute. It was a risk, one that could turn the tide or divide them further. But he believed if he could just show them that he was here to listen, he might just bring about the understanding they all needed. The day of the talent show arrived, and excitement crackled in the air like static electricity. The community center was alive with laughter, conversations, and the clinking of silverware. As the first acts began, Jake stood at the back, a mix of pride and nervousness swirling within him. Lily's backdrop was a swirl of colors, mirroring the vibrant energy of Maplewood. But as he scanned the crowd, he noticed the same faces from the social media posts, arms crossed, still skeptical. He swallowed hard, emotions churning deep within him. Maybe he had gone too far this time. Maybe they'd never accept someone who had wandered too far from their roots. As he contemplated turning back, he caught a glimpse of Lily on stage, her face illuminated by the spotlight as she spoke her heart. When the crowd erupted in applause, a surprising thought crossed his mind. Perhaps the true bond of community was built on the willingness to share vulnerabilities, to listen and uplift each other, regardless of the past. As the last act took the stage, Jake faced the echo of his own fears. Was he prepared to fully commit to Maplewood and its people? Would he put aside the imposter within him long enough to truly belong? Before he could answer, a figure from the back of the crowd stepped forward, revealing a truth that would change everything. Jake's heart raced as he recognized the figure moving through the crowd. It was Mrs. Thompson, the elderly woman who always seemed to know everything about everyone. Her cane tapped rhythmically against the floor, drawing attention toward her. The noise in the room softened as she approached the stage, and Jake squinted, trying to figure out what she was going to say. As she stepped into the spotlight, her frail frame seemed to absorb the warmth of the audience's gaze. I've been watching you, young man, she began, her voice steady and strong despite her years. And I think it's time I said something. Jake's stomach twisted into knots. What could she possibly say that would help the tension in the room? The skeptics were still nearby, eyes narrowed and unwilling to embrace what Jake was trying to foster. Many have asked what an outsider knows about Maplewood. Well, I'll tell you this. It's not about bloodlines but about heart, and you, Jake, have poured yours into this community. She paused, looking directly into Jake's eyes, a sincerity that both soothed and terrified him. In a time when we've struggled to come together, you've shown us that there's nothing more powerful than the courage to reach out. With a slight tremor in her voice, she continued, the show tonight isn't just about talent. It's a chance to heal old wounds, to bridge gaps. I remember a time when this town was a family, and we can be again. The murmurs around the room shifted. Jake could feel an unsettling mix of appreciation and resistance. As Mrs. Thompson spoke, some people softened. Others remained skeptical. Yet her words ignited a flicker of hope in his heart. He thought about the risks he had taken, the connections he had made, and wondered if perhaps their wounds could indeed begin to heal. Mrs. Thompson turned her focus to Lily, who had stepped forward, holding her paintbrush like a mic. And you, dear, she said with a warm smile. Your art has already shown the beauty that lies within a community when we allow our true colors to shine. If you're willing, why not close us out tonight with something special? Lily's face lit up like the sun breaking through clouds. Of course, she exclaimed, excitement bubbling in her voice. Jake could see fear creeping back into some faces, but Lily's enthusiasm was contagious. As she prepared, Jake felt an overwhelming surge of emotions. Could he really be the catalyst for change? He stepped forward and took the mic. Everyone, he called out, his voice growing stronger. This night is a chance to share who we are beyond titles, jobs, and expectations. We are Maplewood, and that's enough. The crowd stirred, uncertainty percolating through their ranks. Would they support him? Would they trust Lily? Lily started to sing, her voice rich and pure, weaving through the hall like a gentle breeze. The crowd fell silent, captivated by her performance. Jake felt the transformation in the air, a palpable shift as people began to sway together, freed by the weight of each note. But just as he dared to hope, Jake noticed the arms of the skeptical residents slowly unfolding. A mother near the front actually clapped along, while a young boy chased playfully up and down the aisle. Maybe it was working. A moment of connection sparked in the heart of Maplewood. As the song came to an end, applause erupted. Jake turned back to Mrs. Thompson, his heart racing. "Thank you," he breathed. But as Lily stepped from the stage, a new figure emerged from the audience, someone he hadn't expected to see. The ground beneath him shifted as a realization sunk in. The answer to his community's heart might rest in the past he thought he'd left behind. Jake's eyes widened as he focused on the figure making its way through the crowd. It was Tom, his old high school friend, the one who had left Maplewood years ago to chase dreams in the city. Tom's presence felt like a ghost returning from a forgotten chapter, carrying memories Jake wasn't quite ready to face. "Hey man," Tom called out, his voice booming and unmistakably familiar. The crowd's whispers settled as they recognized him. Jake felt a tangled mix of nostalgia and dread roll through him. Hadn't Tom been the one who had laughed off their small-town ambitions? Yet here he was, standing in front of them all, seemingly ready to offer something. "Didn't he expect to see you here?" Jake managed to say, fighting to keep the tremor out of his voice. Tom chuckled, but it was a bit hollow. "Neither did I. I heard about the show. Figured I'd drop by. It's funny how life pulls you back." The atmosphere shifted again, thickening with uncertainty. Jake could sense the crowd's murmured judgment about Tom, someone who had left Maplewood to seek fortune. "I know I don't fit the profile of the supportive hometown hero," Tom continued, scanning the skeptical faces before focusing back on Jake. "But I've seen a lot out there. Maybe I can offer a bit of perspective on how to really bring people together." Jake's heart sank. He wanted to believe Tom could help, but his instincts warned him about old wounds. "Do you really think you can?" he asked, unsure whether he wanted to hear the answer. Tom took a deep breath, his gaze steady. "You'd be surprised what I've learned. It's not always about money or status. It's about finding common ground. It's about heart." Jake nodded, feeling the weight of those words. He recalled Mrs. Thompson's encouragement, the idea of change and healing. But then a question gnawed at him. Was Tom genuinely invested, or was he here to promote himself? Lily stepped closer, her earlier excitement now replaced with an uneasiness. "Maybe we should all share a bit of what we've learned," she suggested gently. "What if we open the floor?" The idea hung in the air, met with mixed emotions. Just as someone in the back raised their hand, a loud crash broke the moment. A table had tipped over, sending chairs clattering to the floor. Gasps echoed as people turned to see one of the skeptical residents, Patricia, struggling to right herself amid the chaos. "Are you okay?" Jake rushed over, heart racing again. Her expression was a chaotic mix of embarrassment and anger. "I'm fine. Just this whole setup," Patricia protested, her voice cracking. "We can't just pretend everything is good when it's not." Jake opened his mouth to respond, but Mrs. Thompson stepped forward once more. "It takes courage to share our struggles, Patricia," she said softly. "But that's how we start to heal." He glanced at Tom, who nodded, seeming to grasp the subtle shift in the crowd's energy. This moment was pivotal. If the community could share their burdens together, maybe they could build something stronger. He took a step closer to the mic. "Maybe let us be real, all of us." His heart pounded as words poured out. "We've all faced challenges, frustrations. If we want Maplewood to thrive again, we need to open up and get our hands dirty." Tension hung in the air, a fragile string of hope and apprehension. But before anyone could respond, Tom interjected, "If you're willing, I could share something from my journey. Maybe my mistakes can help." Jake stared at him, weighing the word mistakes. Could sharing truly bridge the gaps in their community? He saw glimmers of understanding flicker in the crowd, but suspicion still lingered. Would they allow Tom into their hearts when they were reaching for healing? As Jake waited for an answer, the sound of Lily's paintbrush dropped, clattering to the ground. In that brief moment, everything felt on the cusp of change. Jake's heartbeat quickened. Was this the moment they'd finally open up, or would skepticism win out again? A silence hung in the air, thick and tense. Tom stepped forward, his expression earnest. "Look, I get that you might not trust me," he said, his voice softer now. "I've made my share of mistakes. I abandoned this town, chasing success that maybe wasn't meant for me. But what I learned, it's that real success isn't about the number of zeros on a paycheck. It's about the people you uplift along the way." Jake's heart wavered. Could Tom truly understand what the people of Maplewood needed? Could he be more than just a loud reminder of past aspirations? The crowd shifted, a few exchanging looks. Hesitantly, someone stood up. It was Mark, a local mechanic who had often wrestled with the notion of leaving too. "I've felt that," he said, eyes locked on Tom. "You think getting out means leaving your problems behind, but it just complicates everything." Lily, emboldened by Mark's words, spoke next. "We've all faced things, struggles large and small. Maybe sharing helps us realize we're not alone in this." Her voice trembled slightly, but it carried conviction. "Exactly," Tom replied quickly. "It's not about the fancy city life. It's about connection. About reaching out and saying, 'I see you.'" Jake's eyes darted around the room. What was the right path for Maplewood? Fear bubbled beneath his skin. Would they actually allow this moment of vulnerability to take root? Patricia, still on the floor but regaining her composure, finally spoke. "I've been angry for a long time. Wanting things to change but holding on to resentment." A collective breath was taken, her raw honesty shaking the walls of their unease. Tom nodded thoughtfully, encouraged by her words. "That anger? It's valid. But what if we turned it into a force for good? Together?" Jake felt a spark ignite inside him. "Let us try it for all of us." He stepped back to the mic, adrenaline coursing through him. "Why not take a moment to share our struggles? Let us create a space for honesty, a space for healing." Mark and Lily exchanged an eager glance, nodding in agreement. They were ready. One by one, people began to rise, hesitant at first, but as more voices joined, a tapestry of experiences unspooled. "I lost my father last year," a woman admitted, tears pooling in her eyes. "And I don't know how to carry on without him." Another added, "I'm struggling in my marriage, and I don't know how to save it." With each new confession, cracks in the community's wall began to show. Even as Tom listened, Jake sensed a shift in emotion alive in the air. Conversations were taking flight, weaving through the room like a thread binding them together. But just then a heavy-set figure burst through the door, face grim. It was Mr. Harris, the town mayor, and he didn't look pleased. "What's going on here?" he barked. His voice cut through the warmth like ice. Jake's heart sank. Would this be the end of their moment? "Your attention, please," Mr. Harris commanded, eyes scanning the crowd looking for anything to grip onto. "We're in the middle of discussions about Maplewood's future. And this isn't it." Tension whipped through the room. Jake could see the flicker of doubt return to people's eyes. What if Mr. Harris shut them down entirely? It felt like an unwelcome storm was rolling in, threatening to drown out their fragile moment of hope. Would they stand their ground or yield to the authority they'd fought against for too long? As Jake felt the weight of despair creep back in, he realized he had to rally them. They couldn't let this be the end. "Stay with me," he whispered, a plea in his heart, hoping the community would find the courage within themselves to continue. But would they? Would they stand up against fear and continue their journey towards healing, even with the mayor's presence looming like a shadow? The silence after Mr. Harris's entrance felt suffocating. It was as if the air itself had turned dense, making it hard for anyone to breathe. Jake felt the eyes around him searching for direction, begging for relief from the storm of uncertainty. Tom stepped forward again, defiance in his posture. "Mr. Harris," he began, his voice steady despite the tension. "This isn't just a small meeting. It's a lifeline. We're talking about our lives, our stories. We're trying to find a way to lift each other up. Please understand that." The mayor's face hardened, a stark contrast to the emotions swirling in the room. But Tom's gaze didn't waver. A few members of the crowd murmured in agreement, emboldened by Tom's words. "We've listened to official plans before, Mark interjected, anger bubbling just below the surface. And where did that get us? We're here fighting for our community, for change that actually matters. Yes, Lily exclaimed, her voice rising, gaining momentum. If we don't talk about our struggles, how can anything improve? We can't be the hollow shells of a town anymore. Jake felt his heart race as their voices joined together, overlapping in an unexpected chorus of unity. Hope ignited, mingling with the fear. It was incredible how the raw honesty was drawing them together like a magnetic force. If they could just hold on to that connection. Mr. Harris seemed taken aback by the passionate turnout. I understand, but he started, clearly struggling to find the right words to wrestle back control. No more buts, Patricia said suddenly, her voice strong and piercing. We've been given enough excuses. It's time to recognize that we're not just a town to be managed. We are a community hungry for change. Jake watched the mayor's mouth close, as if realizing he had underestimated the depth of emotion in front of him. The crowd shifted, energy rippling through them, urging each person to hold their ground. Mr. Harris, Tom said, stepping closer. Instead of shutting us down, what if we work together? Your experience can guide us, but the heart of this town is us. We need you to listen, really listen, to what Maplewood wants to become. Jake felt the tension shift, a glimmer of understanding in the air. Was Mr. Harris starting to comprehend the truth that had escaped his grasp for too long? The mayor looked to the crowd, and the mood in the room seemed to crack open just a bit more. What do you want? He asked, not with the commanding authority expected, but with a hint of curiosity mixed with grudging respect. Connection. Someone cried from the back. Hope. Another shouted. Action. With each shout, the community was reclaiming its voice. Jake could barely believe the change unfolding, as tiny light bulbs flickered to life in faces around him. Let us get together afterward, talk about plans, Tom suggested, his enthusiasm contagious. A soft smile broke through the mayor's stern demeanor. If we can keep this conversation going, well, maybe I can help. Jake felt lightheaded as it happened. The storm that had threatened to drown them slowly began to part, revealing a fragile, hopeful dawn shining through. They had turned a corner, and there was a path ahead. Just then, the ringing of Jake's phone cut through the moment, vibrating insistently in his pocket. Frowning, he pulled it out and glanced at the screen. The caller ID made his heart drop. It was his mother. He hadn't spoken to her since he moved back. With a quick glance at the crowd still buzzing, still charging with energy, he answered. Mom? Jake, we need to talk. Her voice sounded heavy, laden with urgency. Jake took a deep breath as the tension rose within him again. What could she want? Whatever was coming, it didn't seem good. As he stepped further from the gathering, Jake felt the warmth of the community behind him almost like a shield. But looming ahead, shadows flickered, and he wondered, what news would change everything? Jake moved away from the gathering, feeling the heat of their support fade behind him. The mayor's tentative smile still lingered in his mind, but now his focus sharpened entirely on the conversation ahead. He didn't want to face whatever news awaited him, but there was no escaping it. Mom, is everything okay? He asked, his voice tight, fists clenching at his sides. There was a loaded silence on the line before she replied. We need to discuss your father. His stomach dropped, and a knot of anxiety twisted inside him. Thoughts tumbled through his mind, memories swirling like autumn leaves caught in the wind. This wasn't a conversation he thought he'd have to have so soon after returning. What about him? It's serious. You need to come home, Jake. His heart raced, panic clawing at his chest. Home? Why? Is he all right? Another pause. No, Jake. He's not. He's in the hospital. He's been diagnosed with something. They say they need to do some tests, and her voice trailed off, overcome with worry. Wait, what do you mean diagnosed? What is happening, Mom? The words poured out before he could control them. What's going on? He says he's been feeling unwell for a while, she managed. The doctors are there being cautious. You need to be here. Every feeling of triumph from the meeting with the mayor slipped away like sand through his fingers. What about the town, the meeting? We had a breakthrough, Mom. I can't just leave now. But Jake, Mom, I have to be there for them. They're depending on me. Each word felt like a rock in his gut, the weight of responsibility crushing him. Your father's depending on you too, she replied softly, the desperation cracking her voice. The silence stretched thick between them. Jake gritted his teeth, trying to contain his rising panic. How bad is it? He's scared, she said finally. And you need to talk to him. The last words hung heavily in the air. Jake felt the wall around his heart press against him tighter. He had so many unresolved feelings about his father. So much pain that had festered over the years. But now it felt like time was running out. Could he really face him? "'Kay," he said shakily. "I'll come home, but thank you," his mother cut in, relief washing over her voice. "But afterward I'm coming back," he insisted. "I need to see this through." "We'll see," she replied, her tone softening. "Just please be careful." As he hung up, Jake looked back toward the crowd, buzzing with excitement and hope. He wanted to run back and embrace that energy, to be part of the change they were forging. But now he felt more tethered than ever before, pulled between two worlds. His community vibrant and alive, and his family burdened and fragile. The path forward suddenly seemed murky. Could he leave Maplewood when it was standing at the brink of something beautiful? The turmoil inside him grew, bubbling like molten lava. He couldn't stand in both places, not now. Just when he turned to rejoin the crowd, a figure stepped forward. It was Lily, her bright eyes shining with purpose. "Jake, are you okay? You look pale." I just got some news," he stammered, unable to shake the weight of it all. "Good news or bad?" she asked, reading him like an open book. "Bad, I think." He hesitated. "My dad's in the hospital." Her expression shifted, compassion pouring from her. "I'm so sorry, Jake. If you need to talk, thanks," he said, forcing a smile. But inside, uncertainty gnawed at him. As Lily stepped back to join the others, Jake felt the urge to reach out, to tell her everything. Would letting someone in help him make sense of this whirlwind? Or would it only deepen his struggles? He took a breath, feeling the warmth of his community behind him again. But now it felt like a lifeline tightening in his grasp. He had a decision to make, one that would echo far beyond himself. Where was his place, here in Maplewood or back home? The question lingered in the air, heavy yet electric, as memories of his father flooded his mind. What would he risk to find his truth? Jake's phone buzzed again, interrupting his thoughts. It was a text from his mother, simple yet urgent. "Please hurry. He's asking for you." Just those words, so full of meaning, sent a wave of dread crashing over him. He looked back at the gathering, laughter and voices blending into a single blurry hum. The excitement felt distant now, like a world he could no longer reach. A flash of guilt flickered through him. How could he abandon them now, especially when they needed him most? With a shaky breath, he turned away from the town square that had been buzzing with life just moments ago. Each step toward his car felt heavier than the last, sinking deeper into his gut. Memories of his dad, his laughter, his lessons, even the arguments rose to the surface, colliding with fresh anxiety. They hadn't talked much lately, and Jake struggled to break through years of silence. Would they have time to mend things? As he drove, he found himself gritting his teeth. The road ahead stretched and twisted, just like the storm of emotions within him. His dad had never been the easiest man to communicate with. They had always stumbled across their fair share of misunderstandings, and now he feared that their time together would be consumed by things left unspoken. What if he couldn't find the right words? He saw his childhood home come into view, the old oak tree swaying gently in the breeze, a silent witness to countless memories. The house hadn't changed much, pale blue shutters, peeling paint, but it felt different somehow, weighed down by the urgency of the moment. He parked on the driveway, the familiar gravel crunching underfoot, and hesitated. Walking up to the door felt monumental. Each step was an echo of past summers, filled with laughter and the carefree ease of boyhood. Now it felt like he was entering an entirely new landscape, one filled with uncertainty and uncharted emotions. His mother answered the door, her eyes betraying fatigue mixed with worry. "Oh, Jake," she breathed, pulling him into a brief, tight hug. "Thank you for coming." He had expected more comforting words, but the tension in her shoulders said more than any well-chosen phrase. "Where is he?" Jake asked, his heart racing. "In his room," she said, moving aside to let him pass. Every part of him wanted to sprint through the house, but he forced himself to walk slowly, the air thick with anxiety. Each room held fragments of his childhood, like echoes of laughter, happy moments now overshadowed by sadness. Would he ever be able to go back to those times? When he reached his father's room, he pushed the door open gently, his heart pounding in his chest. The sight of his dad in that hospital bed struck him to the core. It felt almost surreal, like he was watching a pain-streaked scene play out in slow motion. His father looked frail, the weight of the world resting on his brow. Eyes that once sparkled with vigor and strength seemed dimmed. "Jake," his father rasped, a frail voice trying to bridge the gap of years lost. "Hey, Dad." Jake felt his voice tremble as he stepped closer. He desperately searched for something to say, something to ease the tension, but nothing came. Instead of words, they shared a moment of silence, a precious, loaded exchange that spoke volumes. The clocks ticked around them, the world outside faded away, and Jake realized that this moment was all they had. Just then, a faint smile crept onto his father's face. "I missed you, son," he said, the vulnerability in his voice tugging at Jake's heart. "I missed you too," Jake replied, blinking back tears. He could feel life changing in that small room, a tapestry of emotions weaving tighter and stronger. The moment stretched into eternity, thick with unspoken hopes and unhealed wounds. What would come next? Would they find the right path? Jake feared more than just the uncertainty of his father's health. It was the unknown journey ahead of them, the weight of their shared past pressing down on their fragile present. Could they navigate through this together? The air buzzed with potential, leaving Jake breathless. What if now was the time for breakthroughs, not just for healing but for reclaiming all that had been lost? As his father's gaze met his, Jake felt the electricity of their connection sparking to life. There were so many things left to say. Would they finally find their way back to each other? Jake felt the heaviness in the room shift slightly as he and his father locked eyes. In that moment, there was an unspoken agreement to confront the past, to face the scars that had kept them distant for so long. His heart beat faster, a mix of anxiety and hope flooding his chest. Can we talk?" Jake finally managed to ask, his voice steadier than he felt. His father nodded, the faint smile fading into a serious expression. "There's so much to say, isn't there?" Jake swallowed hard, feeling the truth of his father's words. So much had gone unsaid, buried beneath layers of arguments, silence, and years now lost to time. All this while, he had thought he was alone in his struggle, but seeing his father frail in that bed brought clarity. They were both victims of their own pride, trapped by unvoiced feelings. "I didn't know you were this." Jake hesitated, searching for the right word. "Sick. I wish I would have come sooner." His father sighed, a weary sound that echoed through the room. "It's hard to ask for help, son. I thought I'd have more time." The admission hung in the air, a raw and painful truth that struck Jake like a bolt of lightning. They had both misunderstood the other, both been too proud to reach out. Jake felt a lump rising in his throat. "I always thought our conversations would get easier with time, but they just got harder." A flicker of something regret, perhaps, crossed his father's face. "I pushed you away, Jake. I thought it would make things better for you." The weight of those words pressed down on Jake, making it harder to draw in a breath. "You pushed me away because I was becoming you." The truth slipped out, unfiltered and raw. His father's brow furrowed. "What do you mean?" "I didn't want to repeat the cycle. I didn't want us to end up like this." For a moment, they were both lost in the gravity of the moment, swimming in memories of missed opportunities and the past that loomed like a shadow. Jake felt a tear slide down his cheek, and he wiped it away angrily. "But here we are, Dad." The finality in his voice rang out, and he felt something break open inside him. "I don't want our legacy to be about silence. I want us to actually talk." His father's eyes softened, glimmering with unshed tears. "You're right. I don't want that either. I want to be a part of your life, Jake." A surge of emotion welled up in Jake's chest, and suddenly, the room felt less suffocating. There was a chance for healing, for rediscovering what they'd lost. Jake took a deep breath, gathering every ounce of courage. "Can we start with the things that matter? The things we never said but should have?" His father looked at him, really looked at him, and Jake saw hope reflected in his eyes. "Yes, let us start there." As they began to talk, the air seemed to shift with each word shared. Jake felt lighter, as if the burden of silence was lifting one layer at a time. They navigated through the messiness of their past, laughing and crying, each revelation bringing them closer to one another. But just as Jake started to feel a sense of peace, his father's breath hitched and he leaned back against the pillows, a flash of concern flashing across his face. Jake, before he could finish, a medical alarm beeped loudly, cutting through the fragile connection they had begun to rebuild. Jake's heart raced as he turned toward the door, fear creeping back in. What is happening? He felt the world tilt on its axis, the moment of hope turning into a wave of disbelief. Were they about to lose this chance? Had he finally found his father just in time to let him go? The room exploded with activity as nurses hurried in, their voices urgent yet controlled. Jake felt the weight of the alarm stacking against his chest, panic buzzing through him. His heart raced as he grasped his father's hand tightly, refusing to let go. "Stay with me, Dad," he urged, his voice a mere whisper against the chaos. His father's eyes flickered with pain but held a depth of strength that Jake had always admired. "I'm here, son," he managed to say, his breath coming in shallow gasps. As the medical team assessed his father's condition, Jake felt like he was standing on the edge of a precipice, teetering between hope and despair. The walls around him faded, swallowed by the urgency of the moment. Would this be yet another chance snatched away before they could truly reconnect? "Please, I need to know he's going to be okay," Jake called out to the attending nurse, his voice breaking, desperation spilling through. The nurse glanced at him, her face a mask of professionalism, and nodded briefly. "We're doing everything we can," she replied, not promising anything but giving him a foundation of reassurance. In the flurry of activity, Jake felt a flicker of hope ignite deep within him. His father was fighting because they were fighting together. As the team worked around them, Jake squeezed his father's hand tighter. "You've always been strong, Dad. You taught me how to face the storms. Don't give up now." His father gazed at him, a spark of recognition shimmering in the depths of his eyes. You really believe that, don't you?" Jake felt the emotions churn within him, echoing the journey they had embarked on just moments before. "I do. And I'll always believe in you, no matter what." The alarm slowly quieted down. The commotion began to settle, and Jake felt a shift within the room, an unspoken agreement that they would tackle whatever came next together. "Let us fight for what we love," Jake said, his voice infused with determination. Just outside the door, his mother paced anxiously, wringing her hands. Jake caught a glimpse of her expression, worried yet hopeful. He forced a smile, the strength of his father's hand in his anchoring him. "We're going to be okay," he promised, drawing the strength of belief from the heart of his family. Moments later, the doctor entered, his expression calm as he assessed the situation. His eyes landed on Jake, and for the first time Jake felt a hint of reassurance. "We've stabilized him for now. We need to keep monitoring, but he's a fighter." Relief washed over Jake like a warm tide. He let out a breath he didn't know he was holding, turning back to his father, who remained pale but steady in his resolve. "See, just like old times," Jake joked lightly, trying to keep the atmosphere hopeful. His father chuckled weakly. "First you joined me for life, now I see you're gonna stick around through death too." Jake's chest tightened momentarily, both at the gravity of those words and the light-heartedness behind them. "Always, Dad. I'm here for all of it." As things began to quiet, the weight of their earlier conversations returned. The fears remained, but they were now laced with a thread of possibility. Could they truly rebuild their relationship? Would they finally reclaim the unspoken bond woven from years of silence? Later that evening, as darkness blanketed the surroundings, Jake found a moment of solitude. He stepped outside, inhaling the crisp night air, feeling alive in ways he hadn't in years. The stars peppered the sky like tiny hopes, whispering promises of what could still be. He took a moment to look back at the hospital. Inside, he felt a flicker of his father's spirit, a testament to their journey, one that still had a long way to go, but they were equipped with renewed determination. From the depths of uncertainty, Jake realized he also needed to return to Maplewood, the community he had a stake in. They fought for their own stories, and so he would venture back, ready to join them in the battle for healing the same way he was fighting for his father now. He pulled out his phone, fingers trembling slightly as he typed a quick message to Lily. "I'll be back soon. We need to make things right for Maplewood." He felt the gust of wind behind him, whispering hope, Ultimately, returning to his roots didn't mean leaving family behind. It meant honoring both sides of his heart. As he made his way back inside, he felt the road ahead stretch out before him like an open field. The connections he sought were still within reach, ready to be forged and mended, driven by unwavering love for the people who had shaped him. And thus, with a heart full of courage, Jake stepped into the hospital room, ready to embrace every moment with his father, grounded by the healing promise of a new beginning. Together, they would weave their stories back together, even if they had to start with the simplest of words. I'm here. If you love transformational stories, this is the moment to show your support. You need to subscribe now to the channel to not miss the next exclusive stories. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm. Comment your reactions and feelings about the ending. Share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. Don't wait not even one more second to share. Remember, only true fans understand the importance of supporting the channel through these actions.